There are 13 participants. Okay, Kevin, it's 6:30. We're going to start. Good evening. This is the February meeting of the Landmarks Committee of Community Board 8. We have 4 applications to hear tonight. We will vote only on the context and appropriateness within the historic district of each application. We will hear first from the applicant, then the public, then go into executive session to formulate a resolution on each application that will be presented to our full board at its monthly meeting, which will be a week from this Wednesday evening. Kevin, do you want to give a little talk about the technology, what's involved?
Sure. So welcome everyone. If this is your first time joining us virtually, you will notice that you're currently muted, and everyone will remain muted throughout the meeting, except for the committee co-chairs, Jane and David, and any presenters as we move through the agenda. Following the presentations, the co-chairs will call on members of the public wishing to speak. You can participate by going to your reactions icon on your device and pressing the raise hand button, not the wave or thumbs up, as those will disappear. Only press it once. If you press it a second time, your hand will go back down. If you're calling on the phone, it is *9 to raise hand and *6 to unmute. Be on the lookout for a prompt asking you to confirm unmuting once the co-chairs call on you. The chat is available for technical support only to help with Zoom software problems, not to ask questions of the co-chairs. They will not see the chats. If you're using an older version of Zoom, you need to go to the participant section where you will find the raise hand feature there. Please do not raise your actual hand or wave at the screen because we may not be able to see you. Chat me, I'm here for support. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kevin. With that, we're going to get started. The first application is for 128 East 64th Street. Is the applicant here?
Yes.
Thank you. Do you want to do a screen share?
Yes.
Paula, I turned on the screen share option, so you should be able to share your screen right now.
Okay.
So you can get started.
Okay. So I'm Paula Damasceno with Art Express, with the architectural team working on this project. Our application is to for the replacement of a window with a door. We're looking at the 1940 photo on the left-hand side and the current photo on the right side of our house. We recently received a landmark approval for minor changes to the facade. And this is why you're going to see along this presentation a difference in colors between the existing building and the proposed. As part of that application that was previously approved, we will be removing the gate, the stoop gate that was done by a previous owner without approvals. And we're also going to be replacing the fence around the areaway to match the original railing of the stoop of the house, of the stairs. The window that we are the proposed area of work is on the basement level. The basement is not on the street level. So in this image here, in this elevation, we're showing the section cutting through the areaway, indicating that it's not visible from the street level. So, and this is a close-up photo of the window that we're talking about. We're not proposing any changes to the masonry opening in width or height. The window sill is made out of wood with stucco on the exterior. And at the bottom of the sill, we have a vent that is no longer needed for ventilation. It's not aesthetically pleasing, and it was also very poorly installed. It goes all the way to the bottom of the opening. Our proposed door will match the exact look of the existing window. And instead of the vent, we are going to have a solid panel at the lower portion. And the lower portion of this area, again, it's not visible from the street. Now we're looking at the floor plan of the areaway, which is our access to the basement level. The basement is where my clients will spend most of their time. It's the most important level of the house. It's where we have the kitchen, the dining room, the garden area. And the current access to the basement is below the stoop stairs to the left. And it's a tight space, an arched low ceiling, and it's a sharp turn into the basement. So circulation is very tight to get into the basement area. And we are proposing to have the direct access from the street. So instead of going into the entryway and making a sharp turn into the basement, we're proposing to just have a straight run from the street, making it easier to bring furniture in and out. Our clients have babies, so it's hard to get the stroller in and out of the house because of this curve. So it's just going to facilitate them to access this area. Now we're showing here a close-up detailed image of the existing window and what we're proposing to do. Again, there's no alterations to the masonry opening. We're just replacing and repeating the exact pattern of the ironwork so that it looks as close as possible to what we have what we have currently. This image is here. We're just showing the existing entryway, showing how it's arched and it's low. It's a low ceiling, and how we have the sharp access. On this side, we're showing the wood sill of the window and the vent underneath.
So is that basically your presentation?
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any members of the public present? Kevin, do you see any raised hands?
If you're a member of the public and you want to ask a question, please raise your virtual hand. Going to reactions button at the very bottom. I don't see anyone though.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. Then we'll go to the committee. We can start in alphabetical order. I think that's Elizabeth Ashby first.
Elizabeth Ashby.
Yeah. I think that this is a very sensible solution to a problem that the residents feel. There's not a problem to the public with this building, but I think because the real work on the window has been replicated, the size, there are no masonry changes, and particularly because the bottom of the door isn't visible from the street, I feel that this is an acceptable solution.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Thank you. I agree with Elizabeth. I actually think this is a very bright way of treating the entire challenge. I am curious about one thing, however. I just noticed that the paving leading to what will be the door has changed from what looks like bricks. What is the material in the new
Now-
entryway floor?
We changed it to bluestone. So, and this was part of the previous recently approved application with Landmark.
When
It
you
was
say
approved on
previously
staff
approved,
level.
you mean it was approved at the staff level?
Yeah, staff level, yeah.
That's what I was
Thank
going to
Very
ask
recently.
also. Well, I think it's much smarter looking, than the previous paving, but good luck. Thank you very much. I can support the application.
Thank you.
Michelle Birnbaum.
Yes, thank you very much. This looks fine to me. Let me also question, was the change of the red door to the black door part of a staff level approval as well?
Yes,
Yes, okay, I can approve this. This is fine.
thank you.
Lolita Camp.
Thank you. I don't really understand what you mean when you say it's not visible from the street. I walk by townhouses all the time and could see fully the full door, the full window, the full stone. And right now you're looking at it from the street. So you can see the entire door. I'm a little confused what you mean.
Okay, so this photo it was tipped down and right by the gate. So if you're farther down, if you're on the other side of the street or on the street, you can't see it because it's 18 inches below. So the window is visible, but only the bottom, just the vent is not visible unless you approach the areaway and you're close up.
But so if you're walking on the sidewalk adjacent to the house on the what is it, one, it's an even number, well, whatever side, if you're on the same side of the street, you can see it.
If you're right in front of it, you can, because
Yes.
if you're on the right side, on the left side of the house, the gate stoop, the stoop will cover it.
I understand, but
then
as you're, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No worries, no worries. What was that?
Just as you're walking by, you can see it. But having said all of that, I don't mean to sound critical, which I probably do. I think it's smart and I think it's very attractive. So I'm fine with it.
Okay, thank you.
I don't see Sarah Chu, so we're going to go to Anthony Cohn.
Hi. I'll just start out by saying that this is fine. I do have one question. Michelle answered question A, or asked question A, which was about the door. Are you changing the color of the facade overall?
No, we're gonna repaint it, but the same color. We're
Same
keeping
color.
The same color, yes.
Okay. I think this is a really cool, thoroughly charming building, and what you're doing is fine, and in fact a wonderful idea. I'm an architect. I've had numerous clients who don't make this smart move to go directly in, but continue to keep the sort of silly door under the stairs. I think it's also, just parenthetically, it's especially sweet that this is next door to the Edward Durrell Stone townhouse, just to the left as we're looking at it, which is also kind of funny. Thank you. That's fine.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Skipping over David and Jane, we have Marco Tamayo.
Okay,
Oh.
great.
Oh, thank you. I think the proposal is perfectly fine and doesn't impact anything in the historical fabric of the building. And I will support this application. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't see Christina or Kimberly, so we're going to go to John McClement.
I agree. I think this is a very attractive change and completely support it.
Thank you.
Next is Abraham Salcedo.
I have no questions. I think I also agree with the comments. I think this is a lovely application. I like the changes, so nothing for me.
So I think that this sounds like a move to approve. Does anybody want to suggest a resolution?
Marco.
Yes, thank you. A motion to approve as presented. Thank you.
Is there a seconder? And we can stop the screen share, by the way. Thank you. Was there a second? Oh, I see Gail has her hand up along with Alita. So I think we can go to a vote.
Okay, I am going to unmute everyone. Give me 1 second.
Yes,
I don't think, oh. There we go.
Okay,
That's all right.
starting with Elizabeth Ashby,
yes,
Gail Barron,
Yes,
Michelle Birnbaum,
Yes.
Alita Camp,
Yes.
Anthony Cohn,
Yes,
David Halpern,
Yes.
Jane Parcell,
Yes,
Marco Tamayo,
Yes.
John McClement,
Yes.
Abraham Salcedo,
Yes.
so thank you. It looks a unanimous approval for your application.
And the next application is 1295 Madison Avenue East. Excuse me, East Expanded Carnegie Hill Historic District. TPG architecture, a neo-Renaissance style building designed by Lewis Corn and constructed in 1899, opening to the public in 1902. Application is to install non-illuminated building signs. Is the architect here?
Hey guys, how are you? My name is Eric Metzger. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes,
Yeah.
Okay, let me blow this up here. Okay, and again, this is at 1295 Madison Avenue. It's for the proposed Chase Bank exterior signage, which, as you'll see, I'll just start off by saying, obviously, the signs, if you live in the neighborhood, you see that they're already installed. They were put up by mistake based off of some additional information or some previous information that we had these signs built. We thought they were approved with non-illuminated letters being under 18 inches. We were unaware of the expanded Carnegie Hill district. So, one thing, I just want to apologize for that. But let me, I want to go through my presentation here. Attached, this is one of the older photos from 1913 of the hotel, Bonray. This, excuse me, this was at recently, when did it close? 2020, it was Hotel Wales. So now they made it into luxury townhomes at the moment. You'll see the photos here. In 1940, you see they had the big cornice at the top of the building, which in 85, you see that was no longer there. They did just, if you look at the current photo from January 2024, the building went under major renovations and they did actually add back that cornice. You'll see down the lower levels where the Chase Bank is located. These are some existing photos. I wanted to take some close-up photos of the signs that are installed already, so you guys can just get an idea of what all the elevations look like. Here's some additional close-up photos. Again, this is non-illuminated letters. They're 12 inches high. It's on a back panel that's 1 inch, 1 inch deep. This is just the site plan here. Again, pans were painted black, 125.125 aluminum back panels. Same thing with the faces, the letter faces. They're 1 inch deep letters. Again, non-illuminated. The logo as it's 2 inches deep with the 2 inches deep metal return, and the front of it is a formed logo. Again, overall letter height is 12 inches, not illuminated. On the corner here, there are some existing menu boards that were there. So I know they just have to stay. So we just have a digital print inside there. They're the existing menu boards that have been around for a long time there. attached here. This is just some details that shows you the non-illuminated, the construction details of the pan. Now, again, it's, you know, projects less than 4 inches from the building, total of 3.5 inches. Excuse me. Here's a panoramic images of, this is the Madison Ave side, and all the way down, you know, you got a mixed match of some lettering and some awnings. I know down all the way down to the north side here, you had a couple different letterings, and like I said, we have some awnings. And across the street, same thing. I mean, you got a set of non-illuminated letters with goosenecks right here, and some awning signage down the ways. Let's see. And as I mentioned before, you know, again, a lot of these Chase banks, we try to stay consistent where we can. And this is a job I did a couple years ago where it was another landmark building down at Columbus Ave in West 86, where again, we did 2 pans and 2 back panels with non-illuminated letters. These were only 10 inches. Same type of, you know, we put them in transom windows. We got another job at 120 Broadway. Another one was previously approved. Again, same kind of deal where we proposed pan signs with non-illuminated letters. This is over the entrance, and this is over one of the transom windows, excuse me, on the side elevation. I did go around. We got some photos from some of the competitors, not necessarily exactly in the Carnegie Hill area, but they're pretty close. You can see, you know, honestly, I think our signs are a little more subtle compared to the rest of the people, but I know there's some some initial feedback we had was having the one sign on Madison kind of goes over a couple bays of windows, and I kind of wanted to show these photos to show you that it is something that is common to see, where, you know, a pan sign might actually span across a couple different window bays, as you can see here. These different TD banks and a Santander down below. But that's pretty much it. I mean, again, I'm really just trying to get the approval, or if there's any changes that need to be made on the non-illuminated signs. That's what we'd like to do. So I take any questions. Anyone has any questions and comments for me?
We will. These residents, districts. You said some of it was nearby, but you didn't say whether it was in a landmark district or not. Mr. Metzger. Am I connected?
Yeah, I think I was just, I could hear you now, sir.
My question was on these precedents. Are they all in landmark districts or?
The 2 Chase ones are landmark districts. The other locations, I'm not 100% sure if each building was landmark. That I don't know. I don't think they are, to be honest with you.
Okay.
But the 2 Chase ones are.
They're just interesting references. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, they were kind of in the neighborhood, so I thought they were appropriate financial institutions, just to kind of see what everyone else is doing.
Okay. I think we should go to the public. Kevin, do we see anybody in the public?
I see a Lo Vanderbalk, Carnegie Hill neighbors.
No.
Yes. Yes, Lo Vanderbalk speaking on behalf of Carnegie Hill Neighbors. I think this is a very fine job. The lettering for Chase is, I think, 12 inches tall, which is appropriate. However, this is a minor detail. You really have to look very carefully. But even this rendering up here, which is useful, shows that for Madison Avenue, Chase, the background, the black background, goes from the lower side window, the lower transom of the other windows to the top of the cornice. Okay. I think it would be preferable if it went no higher than the top of the window line. Now going forward, looking at the right side of the picture we were just looking at.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah, no problem. That's the 92nd Street side. There you see that the signage goes all the way up beyond what would appear to be the top window line of the 3 adjacent windows. However, those window lines are higher than the window lines, the top window lines of Madison Avenue, and they come up to the cornice. And that's very hard to see from this picture. Okay, that's why I did email a photograph, but I sent it just 5 minutes, 10 minutes ago to I don't know whether Will and Kevin, I don't know, they got it, but that shows, the pictures really show clearly that the top of the existing windows of the other windows for Madison Avenue are lower than the top of the windows for 92nd Street, so that the signage proposed for Chase for 92nd Street is more appropriate, whereas the one on Madison Avenue I feel is not appropriate. That would make the two signs slightly different in their height, but that's not going to be that material. Here you see how these, this is a great shot on the left, by the way.
Yes, and that's what, the windows went all the way to the top. So that's kind of what our thinking was. We wanted the signs to stay the same size aesthetically and keep the letters the same. And that's kind of why we decided to have the sign go all the way up to the top.
Yes.
That was our
I understand that. And that argument works very well on 92nd Street. However, if you insist that the background of the black background of Chase must be the same for Madison and for 92nd Street, that'd be one argument. But if you really look at what's going on in Madison, it's jarring. It sticks out, and that is going to be. These renderings don't really show it, but
that's why I wanted to include the photos, to be honest with you.
Yeah, this lower, by the way, this lower, if I may, this lower right hand Chase signage.
This one?
Yeah. See that
right here.
That conforms to being in line with roughly, it's a little bit larger, but it's roughly in line with the existing top of the other windows. But that's not what your renderings show. This is a dropped in photo, but the drawings show it going much higher than that, actually almost meeting the cornice. I'm
sorry.
It's very tricky. You really have to have the photographs side by side. Yeah.
Yeah,
see,
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
See how much the difference is between the top of the black.
And like these windows are almost at the top. To be honest, like on the East 92nd, like I'm looking at the elevation.
Yes, on East 92nd, those side windows are at the top, and that's not a problem there. But on Madison, they are, as you show in this rendering. And so Chase signage sticks out, and it looks awkward. That's, I'm trying to be constructive. I think overall it's a very nice job. Okay. But this is the kind of thing that, that we would feel compelled to raise at the Landmarks Commission.
Understood, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, appreciate the feedback.
Anyone else from the public, Kevin?
I don't see anyone now.
Well, let's go to the committee. Let's do it in reverse order, please. Start with Marco.
That is Marco.
Thank you. I think the application is very simple and it's very straightforward. All the shades have the same style, the same lettering, and I think you need definitely. The if you see it, I think the argue of the law, I think makes a lot of sense. It should be enclosed within the limits of the window opening. It makes more sense if you do different from the streets, one on 92nd and another on Madison. So it will improve your proposal and it fits more clearly. Right there, yeah, you see it. The lintels is almost at the same level of the base of the cornice, and it makes a lot of sense over there. But then on the other side of the street, so clearly it shows there are two types of windows, and that's in the way that was created. And then you should follow the same the same pattern. That's it. So it's almost the same like law said. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next is Anthony Cohn.
Hi, I agree with Lo. I don't think there's any particular, and with Marco, of course, I don't think there's any particular reason why both have to be exactly the same size. I think you have to really struggle to get them both really in your same view. And I do think it is disturbing if the sign reaches up beyond the masonry opening for the window. So I would agree that that would be a very salutary change. Thank you.
Okay, so that's okay. Cool. Thank you.
Alita Camp.
Hi, well, first my question is to David and Jane, which is that I have an arbitration involving Chase, and I'm not sure if this is one of those things where I shouldn't vote for cause or not. It's completely unrelated, so I'll just carry on with my conversation, which is that I agree with Lo, and I can't support it without that change. I also have another question, which is, are you allowed to use that bright blue lighting in the window or the doors next to the window with the sign on it? It's the kind of thing on Madison Avenue, I think in the 50s, I've seen that it's not quite fluorescent. It's like bright LED lighting, which seems to be far more disturbing to the street, although the other one is disturbing too.
Eric,
yeah, that's I know that's probably the lights for the ATMs, or I know sometimes in their walk-up lobby, I know that's a 24-hour lobby they got in there. I mean, obviously they like to have some security lighting, and they have that extra additional blue lighting that they do.
Blue lighting is almost like signage, though. It's identified with Chase, isn't it? It's not security, it's identification.
Eric, you're not in charge of the lighting, is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not in charge of their whole interior light scope and everything like that.
You're not in charge of the lighting, then it's not open
Okay.
to discussion with you and Alita. We ourselves do not know what Landmark's view on this would be. So we're really talking only about the signs.
Well, okay. Will it be brought to the attention?
We can bring it to the attention
Okay.
in some form.
Okay.
We'll have to figure that out. But as far as the application, it's strictly the signs.
That's fine. And I would disapprove without the change made that Lo suggested. Thank you.
Michelle Birnbaum.
Thank you. Can you put up, please, the side-by-side picture of, it's actually the front facade and the 92nd Street facade. It's not
Okay.
this one. It's one that's more straight, that's not on an angle.
Oh, yeah, okay. 1 second.
No, yeah, it's just two pictures.
These ones.
No. Oh, this one is fine.
Okay.
that preceding this. The picture
back to the two
preceding this, yeah,
elevations,
this
yeah.
one, this is fine, this is a rent,
Go
I'm
back to
sorry. I
the two
keep
elevations.
jumping. I'm sorry.
yeah, that's the one, perfect, okay.
Gotcha.
So here's my question, as I look at these, assuming, I mean, they're renderings, so I'm assuming I'll assume they're correct. So the Madison Avenue elevation distinctly shows how the Chase sign comes up to the cornice and is higher than the adjacent window to my right. And I appreciate that that's what Lowe would like to see the Chase sign brought down to that dimension. I agree. When I look at the rendering on my right of East 92nd Street, the comment was made that this sign is much closer in measurement to the windows that are going east. As I look at this, if the rendering is accurate, it doesn't look any more appropriate on 92nd Street. And I just wonder why you wouldn't bring this sign to the top of the east flowing windows as well.
Short answer is that the rendering is incorrect when you look at the photos.
Is that true?
Eric, is
Yeah.
that not correct?
It's these
Here's
elevations.
the photo. You can see it in the photo. The rendering is not correct.
These are the photos. Yeah, that is correct.
Thank you.
Gail Barron.
I have a question regarding the signs at 120 Broadway. What were the size of the letters there? Because it seemed as if it was a narrower sign than what's proposed for Madison.
20 Broadway, they're 18 inches high. The letters themselves are 1/4-inch plate letters, so they're thinner,
Okay.
but they're taller. Like these are actually taller, but they're just thinner letters. Chase has like they're 12. It's just different specs. Like they're 12-inch letter sets for Chase. It's a standard. This right here is a 13 and whatever it ended up being, 13 and 5/8. So we went with the 18-inch logo. It's not standard, so we just went with the plate letter. So it's just more of a cost thing.
Right,
To be
you
honest
were
with you.
adjusting to the specific facade.
Yeah, but
I
these are
do-
actually
Good. I do agree with my colleagues, however, that I think that the sign on Madison, if it
Lower
should
that.
be adjusted. Mhm.
Yeah,
Thank
okay.
you.
Elizabeth Ashby.
Yes, I agree that the height of the sign with Lowe's proposal is we must insist upon that and not approve it without it. I think it's an essential correction to this. I think the ordinary wall signs are good. I think it's pretty restrained, but I think our purpose is to get it right. And I think that is required to get it right. I'm not at all fond of but it's not part of the application of the size of the Madison Avenue windows. But we're not voting on that, so I'll have to forget about it. But I will take the same position as I think everybody else is, only with the correction.
Okay.
Abraham Salcedo.
I'm in agreement with approving, provided that we have a stipulation aligned with Lowell said.
I don't think it's for you to approve or disapprove, but we don't tell them how to redesign it.
Next is John McCarthy.
Abraham, I understand that you are new to the committee. I'm just not being critical. I'm just saying we don't give design decisions in our or recommendations. We tell it as we see it, and we disapprove it or approve it.
Gotcha.
But it can be written in such a way that we imply what it is that we would like to see.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely something we'll do. We'll lower, that sounds good to us. So, I appreciate the feedback. Really do.
Well, we haven't had all of it yet. We still have.
John McClement?
Yeah, I approve this with Lowe's suggestions.
And Jane?
David, I think at some point Jane dropped off the call and I don't see her here. So I think you're the only chair left.
Well, I will go one step further. I don't think the Chase sign belongs on 92nd Street. I don't like to see it running across the pier. I don't think it's necessary. It's a neighborhood bank. Everybody knows it's there. You have the two small sign plaques, and you'll certainly be able to know that it's Chase. And you have the big sign on Madison Avenue. And the big sign, I agree, should be within the height of the window. So I actually am more, I'm less in favor of this, so to speak, or more in disfavor of it than the rest of the committee, but I don't think that's going to change the fact that it looks like we're heading for disapproval. So I need a resolution from somebody. Alita?
Thank you. Motion to disapprove as presented.
Do we have a second? Second from Michelle. Please call the roll, Kevin.
Okay, I'm going to unmute everyone.
But I will write the resolution as the majority has discussed it, not just my opinion. Just want everyone to be aware of that.
Okay, so this is a disapproval.
Yes,
Just a clean disapproval
clean disapproval.
without saying we would approve if they had done something
No,
else?
we never do that, but it'll be written in such a way that it'll be clear what they should have done. The way we always do it. We don't make design decisions. We don't tell them what to do in the resolution. We tell them what we think is wrong. And when they see what's wrong, they can choose to correct it.
Okay.
David,
Yes.
are we starting from the bottom to the top?
You can, then when you call them, they'll just stop.
Sorry, I didn't hear you very clearly. Are we starting from Marco up to Elizabeth or?
Oh,
the
when you
other-
call the roll, I think you should just call the roll in the normal order.
Okay, Elizabeth,
Yes?
Gail,
Yes.
Michelle,
Yes,
Alita,
Yes.
Anthony,
Yes.
David,
Yes,
Marco,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Abraham,
Yes.
have we heard from Jane?
I don't think Jane is on the call.
she is.
She is?
Oh,
Okay.
there she is. Yeah.
Jane, did you vote?
She's
Well,
muted.
You have to unmute her.
I'm sorry, now am I unmuted?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm having terrible internet problems. I wanted to support the suggestion, Lowe's suggestion, the change to the windows on Madison. Does the resolution incorporate that?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, well then I'll vote yes.
Okay.
Can you hear
so-
me?
Yes, we heard you. It's unanimous, yes.
Okay, well, I'm voting yes on the resolution.
Yes on the resolution, which is a disapproval, and it'll be written in a way that makes it clear what Lowe's recommendation was. So Jane, we're, I guess, up to number 3.
She's gone. Oh, now she's back.
Unmute, Jane.
I'm unmuted. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I apologize. I've never had this before.
Those of us who have can empathize. Mr.
I
Metzger,
keep
thank you for your time and your presentation.
David, can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm very embarrassed. I don't know what to do. I don't know whether I should take the next resolution or not.
Jane, I can hear you. Can
I'm
everybody
happy.
hear you?
Okay,
Yes,
but my
everybody can hear
computer,
you.
well, let's go to the next one. Are we ready for the next one?
Yes. Everybody's
That's-
thumbs up or shaking their heads, yes. I think we just lost.
Oh, Jane accidentally unmuted herself, so I'm gonna send you the
Yeah, I'm unmute. I keep losing all of you. We're ready for the next application, which is 5 East 63rd Street. Is the applicant here?
Yes, can I share my screen?
Yeah,
Yes.
that option is available, yes.
David, I'm going to take notes, but if I lose all of you, you'll understand.
Well,
I
I'll
hope.
also take notes just in case.
Okay. The applicant can start his presentation.
Okay, thank you. Hello, my name is Michael Nelson from Shallot Architects. I'm the project architect for 5 East 63rd. The building is located on the north side of 63rd Street between 5th Avenue and Madison Avenue. The building is currently a multiple dwelling, but it will be converted to a single family residence. I have the two tax photos. 5 East 63rd is a neoclassical 6-story residence. The building was erected in 1900 and designed by Hines and Lafarge. In 1942, so just 2 years after this tax photo, the mansard roof was removed and the upper stories were added by Harry Hurst. We believe that this 1980s tax photo provides a pretty good example of what the building looked like after its 1942 renovation. In 1997, all of the window openings above the first floor were enlarged to their current size. These enlarged windows were also ornamented with the existing limestone coins, lintels, and sills. The double hung windows were replaced with multi-light casement windows, and a new ornamental metal balconette was installed on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th floors, which you can see here in the existing situation. One other modification was in 1998. This western lot line window, which you can kind of see in this 1980s photo, was enlarged to its current size. We have some photos of the building throughout the street and some close-ups. We can revisit these if there are any specific comments later on that we need more information about. With this application, we propose to replace the casement and transom windows on the second and third floors. The new casements and transoms would match the style, the dimensions, and color of the existing. And we're also proposing to replace the existing double hung windows on the 5th and 6th floor to casement windows. These windows on the 5th and 6th floor are slightly smaller, so they would not have a transom window like the floors below. The 5E63rd is, we believe, one of 2 buildings on this portion of the street between 5th and Madison that does not have a cornice. So we are proposing a neoclassical style cornice, which would be very similar to a cornice elsewhere on the street, 20 East 63rd Street. Currently, the roof bulkhead has these 3 framed openings, which we would infill and then install the new cornice. The cornice would then be painted to match the existing limestone coins of the building. On the rear facade, similar to the street facade, we're proposing a replacement of the double hung windows with new casement windows from the 5th floor down. And on the 6th floor, we're proposing the removal of the existing double hung windows and an installation of a new metal railing within the existing window opening. I'll touch on this more later because it has to do with some of the modifications to the roof that we're proposing, but I just want to show it here in elevation so you're aware. On the east facade, the existing elevation, let me zoom in. We are proposing to infill one of these windows and replace the double hung lot line window with a fixed window. We are proposing a enlarged stair bulkhead on the roof. The material of this bulkhead would change. On the front facade, it's currently sloped and kind of a mixture of stucco and brick. We are proposing that the entire new stair bulkhead be brick to match the existing west facade, which I'll show you in a moment. Also on this facade, we are proposing to remove these windows that are on this small 6th floor balcony. We will then enclose that balcony and install new fixed lot line windows in that location. And similar to the rear facade, we're proposing the removal of this double hung window and leave it open within the existing window opening. On the west facade, this is the window that I mentioned earlier that was enlarged in 1998. We are proposing to remove or to replace it with just a single fixed window. In this case, we are proposing that the window frame be painted to match the existing brick masonry, just to kind of help it disappear a little bit more. As you can see, the new stair bulkhead, we are proposing that the new portion of the bulkhead would be brick to match the existing. So a few more details of the cornice. This is actually the reference image of the building on the same block. And this, in our case, would be painted to match our limestone coins. We've provided a sightline diagram of the new bulkhead. It's obviously not visible from directly across the street, but because of the building's proximity to 5th Avenue, as you turn the corner, a portion of that bulkhead is visible, which we've demonstrated here in this diagram. This is the existing bulkhead here. This is the existing elevator machine room, and it will remain. On the roof, we are proposing the removal of this portion of the roof. As you can see here in these photos, the building has a very small rear yard, almost non-existent. And so in order to provide some more outdoor private space for the residents, we are proposing the creation of this 6th floor open air courtyard. So we would remove this portion of the roof, and we would remove those 4 windows and install new metal railings. This is just, you can see the small rear yard. I've included some additional photos of all the other properties on the street for reference, and we can come back to them as needed. Here are some additional details of the windows. All the new windows will be within the existing openings. We're not proposing any enlargements. All the style would match, the spacing of the mullions would match, and the color would match match the existing. And then here are the windows with the existing transoms. That's all.
That's your presentation?
Yes.
Thank you. Is there, Kevin, is there anyone from the public?
I don't see anyone, no.
I'm sorry, who's,
I
Kevin,
have one from the public who has a question. Okay, so should we go to the committee?
if there's no one from the public, yes, and we might start with Elizabeth this time.
Elizabeth?
My first question is the original windows, were they double hung or casement?
The original from 1900. These are all double hung from the
I
original
want to
building.
know the original architect's windows.
As far as we can tell, we believe these are the original, or they would have matched the original windows. They would have been double hung windows.
That would have been my guess, but I honestly didn't know. I would prefer, I think this is basically it's had a few kicks in the teeth on it, but this basically is a very fine building and deserves respect. It's too bad they took away the mansard. That's a far better top, to more original, more correct architecture than the plain thing up there. I think it's a good idea to put a cornice, since you probably can't put the mansard back. I would think that it would be preferable to go to double hung. I think the multi-pane that you've used is good, but I would have gone for double hung, because I think it goes with the style and time of this building. There was one fixed window that was just a big pane of glass. Could you pull that awful looking thing up? Yes, that I think is a mistake. And the windows that you show as existing elevation are much more in character with the building. How much of what's going on at the top is visible from the street?
The only portion of what's going on the roof would be the extension of the stair bulkhead.
On the roof would be. Okay, well, I guess I could go with that. But I'm not thrilled, and I probably won't vote for this.
Can I address your comment about the double hung? The 1997 work was approved by Landmarks to install casement windows. And that is why we have proceeded with that.
Maybe I disagree with them.
I think we can go to the next person, Kevin.
Next is Gail Barron.
I agree with Elizabeth's comments. The existing bulkhead, what are the dimensions? And what about the proposed bulkhead? What are the new dimensions proposed?
So what's the distance, the distance difference that it projects out towards the street?
Yes,
that what
and the
you're saying?
height as well. The distance toward the street and the height.
Okay, it projects out towards the street 3 additional feet. The height, let me see if I can zoom in here for you. The base of the skylight, that height matches the existing height here. The existing
Okay.
bulkhead does have a small skylight. Our proposed skylight would match the height, but it would obviously cover the entire bulkhead and not just a portion of it.
Okay, and also with your proposed infill, where you have part of the window
Mhm.
preserved and the other part covered. What is the rationale behind that?
Of infilling this?
Yes, but you had, if the other, I don't think this is the correct photo that I wanted to
Oh,
render.
okay. I can pull up the elevation. This one?
Right. Yes, so we're looking at the elevation here, and you did the infill. I understand it's with matching brick. What was the rationale behind making that window smaller and on the other side removing the window entirely?
Well, with creating the exterior, terrace, this terrace wasn't quite as necessary. So we infilled that to take up that space, to give ourselves some more floor area here as it's adjacent to the exterior terrace.
So this is the floor where you were enlarging the area for the owners to have outdoor space?
That's correct. Yeah, so the existing patio is here on the 6th floor, and the proposed outdoor patio is also on the 6th floor.
And going back to Elizabeth's question about the casement windows, what materials will be used?
I believe they are all metal, and so we would propose to match the existing.
And the double hung that are still in place, are they wood or are they metal?
They're metal as well.
Okay, those are my questions. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Michelle Birnbaum.
Yeah, it's puzzling because this building had so many iterations. Hard to know what the right thing is to do. Okay, the bulkhead at the top that you said is going to be the same height as the existing. However, you're extending it further. You're extending it horizontally further towards the street, correct?
That's correct, by 3 feet.
So when you look at the avenue and you look at your mock-up, that's the reason you see it, unless I'm misremembering. Can you go to where your mock-up is? Yeah, it's because it's coming further to the street that you're seeing it, correct?
A portion of the bulkhead is always visible. The existing bulkhead is always visible.
Right, but now it's going to be more visible, like where that was a small representation of it. Now it's much larger, so it's going to be more visible. What is that height that is visible from the wall, the parapet wall to the roof of that bulkhead? How many feet is that?
I believe it is 4.5 feet.
But okay, so 4.5 feet maybe at that point of the existing stair bulkhead, but as you come further towards the street, you see more of it. And if you look past the building facade, you see where it says the proposed stair bulkhead, you're seeing much more of it.
Yeah, I agree. You are seeing more of it, but it'll be the same height. You just will see those additional
So
3
it'll be
feet as they
4+
project toward.
feet, but those 4+ feet are more visible. Okay. Yeah, I don't object to the casement windows just because, as I say, there are so many iterations that that one's fine. I do object to that clear pane of glass window. I'm not quite sure the rationale for that. I understand it overlooks what's now going to be the open space. Is that correct?
No, this is the window that we are proposing to make a single pane of glass.
So what's the rationale for that?
From that floor, the tenant can look through that glass and see Central Park. So it's a kind of a picture frame window. It's this nice moment on the 6th floor.
And that's the only window. Well, it's the only window that's visible. Is that right?
That's correct. All of the windows on the east facade are not visible from the street.
But that's a window. What's the room inside? Is the room inside the one that swings around to the front of the building that will have the casements?
I'm sorry, I don't think I follow. The space, what is the space on
Yes,
the
is
6th
that
floor?
one space? The three
Yes.
windows, the 3 windows on the front facade and the single pane window that you're proposing are all part of the same room?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so I'll go back to a comment that was made last week when we were talking about an outlier window that was going to have that in order to match the exterior, it would have had one design, but in order to match the interior, it had another design, and that was the preference from not only the architect, but this committee. So I'm going to go along with that slight precedent that was set last week and say for the interior of the room and for the uniformity of both facades, both the front facade and that side facade, that window should be casement as well. My comment. Now let's go to the back to the open space and just let me make sure I understand this completely. So that open space is sort of carved out from the interior, and that's why it has 4 walls. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And those 4 walls, the wall to the front has 3 casement windows, and the one, what are those? Are doors, I assume. Are those doors going to be casement or clear glass?
These doors on this.
Yep, the way you get out there.
Yes, those will be those will match. They will be
Casement.
analyzed. Yeah. Well, they will be hinge doors, so yes, they'll be casement type doors.
Okay. And then
I think what, Michelle, you want to know whether they're divided lights or not, right?
yeah, exactly.
Oh, yes, those would have divided lights.
Okay, thanks, Jane. Now, if you drop down to the 5th floor, where you also have a terrace,
Mhm.
and I see 2 windows on either side, a window on either side of a door, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And that door, how are you representing that here? Will that have divided lights?
Yes.
Okay, so that's not indicated here.
Yeah, we can modify that.
And are those doors and windows visible from the street?
This is the rear facade. None of this is visible from the street.
Okay, and what's the distance of, how big is their rear yard?
I don't have that exact dimension. I can get back to you in a few minutes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Anthony Cohen.
Did we lose Alita? I really admire the work of Hines and Lafarge. And I think that if we look at, I don't know which picture it is, but the picture that just focuses on the front door of the house, it is a wonderful, bold expression of what I guess they called modern French at the turn of the century when this building was new, and it is a shame of. It is an almost unimaginable shame what was done to this building well before you got to it. And the cornice is gone, but I have to admit that I think you're putting the cornice, you want to put the cornice in the wrong place. It feels as though, to me, as though you're trying to sort of right a wrong and not actually doing anything but compounding the errors of the last 60, 70, probably 80 years. I'm not altogether sure what I think yet. Thank you.
Alita Camp.
Thank you. I'm not sure what I think about the front windows, and whether they should be casement or double hung as in the original. I will, if Anthony thinks the cornice is in the wrong place, I would go along with that. He knows more than I do, but I really object to the back because what you've done to me is nothing less than create a gym back there with a gym feeling of having open window spaces. It's not a loggia. And it isn't right now from what you've done in the renderings, it doesn't feel like a loggia. It doesn't feel like anything pleasant. Open spaces read as open, vacant. Oh, they're just openings. They're vacant openings, and it presents a look to me that is so industrial or so commercial and not at all in keeping with a historic neighborhood that on that basis alone, I can't support it, much less bringing the bulkhead forward. When you change the slant to a full vertical wall, that makes it much bulkier and much larger in appearance as well as in reality. So basically, I just cannot support this. It was a really pretty building. It's a quite large house. And while I respect that you want to try and do the right things, as Anthony said, and put back the cornice, which is a vast improvement over what's there, that whole back of it is so alienating to me. So thank you. That's all.
Thank you. I think on the front facade, Anthony described very well. The only thing I'm going to say is you try to improve putting some cornice, when in reality you have the historical picture, a majestic cornice that you can emulate something like that to bring back at least in some way the past. You see how majestic it is right there, and it's very elaborate, very rich. Yes, very rich. These ornaments of the cornice. You can improve in that direction and try to get better. And in addition, that the windows myself, my opinion, since they has been changed the geometry of the second and third floor, well, you have to preserve what you have. it should be double hung windows because it makes more sense. And it should be also using the traditional materials of the window frame, which is wood rather than metal. And that's what I'm going to say about the front facade. The rear part, yeah, the bulkhead, I do not have a problem, honestly. It's minimal visible, and I think you did very well in that part. The rear part, honestly, in the way that you presented to us, it looks like a jail that those people are coming, and then you see holes on the rear part because you remove the windows, you remove the roof, and I think it looks claustrophobic, that part. I understand what is your intention, but uh, I feel that in that part you didn't reach the level that it should be done, and I think pretty much that's my comments. Thank you.
John,
I don't have any questions.
Abraham,
I don't have questions either. I'm still kind of weighing where I stand. I have a little bit of concern with the roof and the bulkhead. But I'll decide as we vote. Thank you.
Jane and David.
David, do you want to comment?
I'd like to understand what's happening in the south facade, including the new corners. Is that illustrated someplace?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? I'm having trouble
I would
hearing you.
like to understand what's happening on the front facade, including the new corners.
Okay. All right, so here's the new cornice, which would cover up those 3 existing openings.
And the new cornice is made out of?
It would be a fiberglass, a GFRP.
Glass painted to match.
Yes, it would be painted to match.
So why wouldn't you just do it in limestone? You're spending a fortune on this building. That's a separate issue from Anthony's issue, but just a question.
We can look into it, but it's typically.
Well, we have to vote on the application as presented.
No, I'm just asking the question. I mean, you know, if you can justify it to me, then maybe yes. If you can't justify it to me, I don't know.
The limestone cornice can be quite cost prohibitive, just especially the size of this cornice. But that's the reason we went that and the weight of a limestone cornice in comparison to a fiberglass cornice.
Section. We've seen section.
I have it in elevation here.
It's really not very much of a gesture. It's has been pointed out in relation to what the building used to be. The problem is that you're dealing with what the building is, not the building used to be. What I find interesting is I think you've done okay with the rules of the game as the building is. You've followed landmarks, approvals, basement windows. It is multi-pane. You tried to do something on top of the building. I don't have a roof and nobody's going to see it, and I think it's neatly done. My problem is really
David, you're fading out.
I'm saying that I don't have a problem with the rear. I think it's neatly done, even though I know it's, that there are pieces of it that don't make sense in terms of the overall aesthetics. But I can live with that. I can live with the big glass window because it looks to Central Park, and I don't think that's a real issue. I can live with the openings. Again, it's the rear of the building, and I think that it's neat and it's better than what was there. But the front of the building, I'm still thinking about because I just don't think that the front of the building rises in what you've done to what the building was or what the building wants to do. You know, I know that's not really subjective, but that's where I'm at this point.
That's it. Any other comment, David?
Jane and David, I noticed that Anthony has a question.
Okay, go ahead, Anthony.
Okay, I just wanted to add an additional comment as I've been staring at the tax photo. The cornice is too small, first of all. The building is too narrow for its height with a cornice this size. I know we're not supposed to design the project for them, but and it's also, and it is in the wrong place. And it's also, we're also missing. The problem is the existing building as it is today is missing much, I'll say most of its original character above the first floor. And the problem is that the applicants aren't really trying to recapture the robust elegance of the original. It's just a kind of weak gesture toward conformity. I apologize for being so cruel. And the wonderful proportions of the original are completely lost. And I think there are mechanisms without completely recreating the original whereby the applicants could have in fact created that sense of robust grandeur of the original building, but they haven't done it here. And I'm now going to say that I can't support this. That was it.
Okay, thank you, Anthony. I want to, well, I'm not going to support the application either for some of the reasons that Anthony has said, for the reasons that Alita has said. I'm horrified by the thought of a fiberglass cornice in the first place on a building of this stature. I find that room where you're removing the roof and having openings for the windows just filled with artifice and very strange on a building of this. Really, as Anthony said, the original architecture was just so incredibly beautiful. I also feel double hung windows are more appropriate. They were the historic windows. And you walk along and see these beautiful old houses that do still have the double hung windows. They're just gorgeous. So I can't support the application. I can't support the cornice. I can't support the multi-light windows. I cannot support removing part of the roof and some of the windows to create that sixth floor enclosed space. So I will not be supporting this application. I don't know whether people want to divide it into one or two parts or how anyone wants to proceed.
Yeah, just do one disapprove.
David, what did you say?
Just do one disapproval. Don't break it into pieces.
Okay. Is that a resolution?
I don't think there's a reason to break it into pieces.
Well, I don't really either, but I wanted to make sure that I wasn't offending anyone by not suggesting it. David, was that a resolution, a move to disapprove?
Move to disapprove.
Is there a second? And could we stop the screen share if we could?
We have 2 seconds.
Okay, let me see. Okay. So Kevin, I think we can go to a vote.
Okay, let me unmute everyone.
And may I apologize for my former internet issues.
When your internet apologizes, Jane, we'll accept it.
Thank you.
Disapproval.
So this is a disapproval. Elizabeth Ashby,
Yes, indeed.
Gail Barron,
Yes.
Michelle Birnbaum,
Yes,
Alita Camp,
Yes.
Anthony Cohn,
Yes.
David Halpern,
Yeah.
Jane Parshall,
Yes.
Marco Tamayo,
Yes.
Sean McClement,
Yes.
Abraham Salcedo,
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next application is 828 Madison Avenue, Upper East Side Historic District. Design Republic, a neo-Renaissance style building designed by George F. Pelham and constructed in 1925-26. Application is to install storefront infill and signage at the building's southern 7th storefront bays along East 69th Street and Madison Avenue. And is the architect here tonight from Design Republic?
I am. Yes, I'm present. My name is Brooke Luckock from Design Republic.
And we also have Kaz, part of your team. Okay.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you, Kevin.
The floor on the screen is yours, however you want
Very
to say.
good. Thank you. Good evening. Cass Stackelberg from Higgins, Quaid, Barth and Partners. You've already met Brooke, who is the architect of record at Design Republic for our project. And I'll be sharing my screen to take you through a proposal for new storefront infill at 828 Madison Avenue, historically known as the Hotel Westbury. Let me go ahead and pull up our presentation. Okay, terrific. Thank you. So just a little bit of administrative work. We're currently calendared for a public hearing at Landmarks on February 27th, just to pass that along. So the scope involves new storefront infill on the southern 7 bays at the building's East 69th Street and Madison Avenue storefronts. And as I think you all know, you've looked at applications for this building for a number of years. The building has a series of storefronts, altogether 20, that run along East 69th Street, Madison Avenue, and East 70th Street. And our scope of work, as I mentioned, is just down here, the southern end, for 7 storefront bays for a new location for Kate, which will be occupying that space for a new store. And before I get into the details, I'll sort of summarize this by saying the scope of work is actually quite simple, but the context is a little bit complicated. And you all may remember that this building has a storefront master plan that was approved back in 2018. You saw a version of that in 2017. You recommended denial of that application. It subsequently went through a number of different iterations and was approved as a master plan in 2018 by the commission. And I'll show you elevations of that approved master plan. None of the storefronts that have been installed across the base of this building, any of the 20, have been built in accordance with that master plan. The other piece of, I think, relevant information is that last year, there was an application for storefront work, second floor work, that also came before this committee back in February. And you also disapproved that application for modifications to infill at the second floor commercial windows, and I think some ground floor work as well. Subsequently, in July, Landmarks approved modifications at the ground floor storefronts, for a tenant that's going to be taking basically the balance of the ground floor. So Kate is going to occupy 7 of 20 storefronts, and this other tenant is going to be taking 13 of the 20. So there basically will be 2 tenants across the ground floor. And I'm sorry for all this background, but I think this may help sort of explain what we're proposing and why we think what we're proposing is appropriate. So finally, let me just say that the approval from last year that Landmarks issued for storefront infill and modifications to the storefront also didn't match the underlying master plan for the building. So we think our scope, which is actually closer to that master plan, as a bronze and glass storefront system with slender dimensions matching the detailing of the master plan, granite sills, we think is very much in keeping with the master plan and could be found appropriate for the building. So that's my probably too long preamble, and I'll jump in and share some existing condition photographs of the base of the building. So these are
what you're saying is that as you turn the corner, storefronts are going to be different.
I will show you precisely where the dividing line will be. Yes. So there will be, currently there are probably 10 different infill types. Under the master plan, the goal was toward 2 different types, but because Landmarks approved just last year an infill that doesn't match the master plan, it almost assumes there will be at least 2 different types, because there's the type of the 13 that was approved, and then there's these 7 southern bays. So I think the short answer to your question is yes, David. So these are the 3 photographs illustrating the 7 bays along East 69th Street here and on Madison Avenue here, where the proposed work is for Kate that we're working on here. So these are the 3 bays on East 69th Street. Currently, they're infilled with a bronze anodized aluminum storefront system, transom windows, and black awnings. Turning the corner, similar infill. This was, I think, most recently occupied by Cartier. There are 3 bays here, also anodized, bronze anodized framing, awnings, and lights. And then this bay here, this is the northernmost bay that Kate will be occupying. This is just a painted aluminum system right here in the 4th bay. So, David, to answer your question, Kate will be occupying these 4 storefronts up to this point on Madison, and then everything north of that will be a separate tenant with a separate infill type. Some other views around the building. Again, so this current storefront bay, you can see the range that exists at the building. These are views along Madison Avenue in particular. A few additional views. Many of these bays have this sort of polished brass infill with a heavy 4-inch dimension for the framing and granite sills. Some details of the existing infill types, awnings, this brass framing, lighting, etc. This is a slide that we took out of the 2018 master plan that just gives you a sense of the 20 different bays and the different types. So these were photographs from 2018 when Cartier was in business, showing you the anodized aluminum storefront infill, the painted infill that I mentioned at the bay on Madison, that is the northernmost bay we're occupying, and then a range of brass and anodized aluminum infill up Madison and onto 70th Street. This is an elevation across the top of the slide. Here is the current conditions, and across the bottom is what was approved ultimately for the master plan at the base of the building. So this is the Madison Avenue elevation, showing large storefront windows, awnings, and low granite sills. And you can see, because of the slope of the sidewalk, there's a lot of variety, or variation, I should say, in the height of those granite sills. They range probably from anywhere from 4 to 12 inches across Madison Avenue. And you can see, as I said, low sill, simple infill. And then similarly on East 69th Street, this is the approved master plan elevation. Similar detail, low granite sill, large storefront window, transom, and awning. This is the drawings from the 2023 approval. And I'm just showing you, these are pages from the permit set for the northern 13 bays that just detail the approved infill in this bay, and then the changes that were being proposed to basically modify the existing infill to be consistent with that brass storefront infill that does not match the master plan. So detail sheets from that approved set, the existing, the proposed for the northern bays. So this is all just to show you that what the commission just approved, or Landmarks just approved last year, does not match that master plan in terms of detail, material, or finish, and detail sheets from that 2023 approval. Turning now to our proposal, some historic photographs and the PAX photos. This, I think, is the best view, and you can see across the base, it's a little small. The storefront infill, large plate glass windows, low sills. It's also interesting, it may be a little hard to make out in this photograph, but the building historically had storefronts with retractable awnings, and you can see, and maybe if I zoom in on this, it might be a little bit clearer. You can see the bays along East 69th Street, where we're proposing our infill, did not have their awnings extended, whereas some of the storefront bays on Madison Avenue did. So we're proposing storefront bays without awnings, and I think this is just to say that historically the building, while it may have had retractable awnings in each bay, not every occupant, not every tenant wanted to utilize their awnings, and that's much the case today. So an existing and proposed plan, just showing you the area of work. This is on the corner, East 69th Street here on the left, and Madison Avenue here across the bottom. The proposed plan has a corner entry with recessed infill to allow for the code compliant outswing of the doors, not to extend over the sidewalk beyond what the code allows. And then kind of almost like a service entry off here on the westernmost bay on 69th Street. The other bays will be large plate glass storefront windows. An overall elevation at the base of the existing here on the left and the proposed on the right, a large storefront window in the center. And as I mentioned, the main one of the main entries to the store at the corner, and then the service entry on the westernmost bay on East 69th Street. I'll show you some detail on that. An existing elevation and a proposed elevation. As I mentioned, the sills range from about 4 to 8 inches. They're a gray granite, and all the infill is a medium statuary bronze with dimensional letters applied to this almost mullion-like across the top, small 3-inch dimensional letters on the piers flanking the entries. So a detailed plan just illustrating how the infill is inset to allow for that 18-inch maximum outswing over the property line. And then turning to Madison Avenue, an existing elevation here across the top and a proposed elevation here. These are the 4 bays in which we're proposing work. The corner entry here and 3 storefront windows. And then this is the break where there will be new storefront infill, modified infill. There will be 2 infill types going forward. Right now, as I mentioned, there are perhaps as many as 10, but there will be 2 infill types, and our proposed infill is on the southern third of the storefront, of the base of the building. So it's not as if it's sort of in the middle and interrupting the approved conditions on either side. The existing detail elevation and a proposed detail elevation, obviously similar to East 69th Street, recessed infill here on the southernmost bay, shown here in plan, 3-inch dimensional letters flanking the entry, an etched glass 3-inch sign on the door for Kate. And then you can see this bronze storefront system with a granite sill. As I mentioned, this is a bronze letter, 6 inches in height, it's black and steel letter, 6 inches in height on an 11-inch bronze mullion running across the header here in these 2 bays, and then it's sort of the end of the infill here on the northernmost bay, running on the horizontal jamb or the vertical jamb rather on that northernmost bay. Some materials just to illustrate the medium statuary bronze infill for the storefront framing. And this material has been chosen very specifically to match the storefront master plan that was approved in 2018, which is approved for a medium statuary bronze. Similarly, the granite across the sills, the granite that was approved on the master plan is a bit darker, but it is a granite material. We're proposing a slightly lighter shade of gray granite. This black and bronze across the upper mullion, etched glass, and then the framing detail, a very simple framing detail. Just to illustrate the approved details from the storefront master plan, I'll just highlight this photograph here, which is just a sample. It's calling for a 2-inch bronze frame. consistent with what we are proposing. We're proposing a matching profile, a 2-inch simple profile in bronze, this medium statuary bronze. And you can see that shown in plan section around the piers. Again, this is from the 2018 master plan approval. And then our proposed signage sheet, again, this 11-inch tall mullion across the top with the 6-inch black and bronze lettering, 3-inch dimensional letters mounted onto the piers flanking the entry, and then etched glass at the entry doors. Some plan sections, just again showing you the approved master plan detailing with the 2-inch bronze framing, similar to what we're proposing here. And then in our instance, we're recessing the infill here to accommodate the outswing of the door at the corner entry. I'm going to go through these relatively quickly. Section details again for the master plan and the proposed detail. This is the corner entry. We're proposing to inset the doors, and we'll be refinishing the returns of the piers all in limestone to match the front facade. And then a typical section of the storefront, you can see the sill height of the master plan approval is similar to the sill height of what we're proposing. As I mentioned, it varies because of the slope of the sidewalk along Madison. And then finally, this is a rendered view. The building has scaffolding and a bridge, so apologies, we had to use a Google Street View for our rendering, but I think it's actually quite clear. You can see the infill across the southern corner of the building and the existing infill to the north. It's a bronze finish, which matches the material and the detailing of the approved master plan. It's got a lot of transparency, as I think was the real goal of that master plan. Simple signage, and really what we feel is quite contextual for the underlying historic building. Be happy to take any questions you may have.
Thank you for a speedy and thorough proposal. I think we should find out if anybody in the audience has a question or comment. Kevin?
I don't see anyone, no.
Well, let's go to the committee and let's start with Marco.
Thank you. I think you did a very good presentation. I think my first impression is, can you put the existing and the proposed?
Sure.
Yeah. Well, my first impression, what I see is they approve a master plan. It looks more uniform. It looks more repetitive, probably more monotonous. And you want to change one part of that in order to break this monotony. I think that is your concept. That's what I perceive. And I like that the concept. Can you reach a very good propose with where you are presented to us? My answer is no. It looks very complicated, even though that I had to be in agreement that you need to have a recess in the corners for the entrance and also to comply with the code. I think it's perfectly fine. But now, not only you go in that direction, you remove your awnings that you believe that is not useful, but in the master plan it makes more sense. Well, my dilemma basically it is monotony versus change of variety on the design. That's what basically is the project all about. So did you reach a good level? I don't think so. The materials are beautiful, very well selected. I agree with that, and I strongly support that. And the lettering, I think, is perfectly fine. And I think that's it. Thank you.
May I just respond to that? Because I think it's an interesting point, the sort of monotony versus variety, which I think is sort of at the heart of this. Landmarks has this goal of uniformity when it comes to this sort of storefront master plan concept. And while I think that's an admirable goal, in reality, retailers, particularly along Madison Avenue, but elsewhere in the city, are looking for some of their own identity, some of their own personality to come through. And so it's sort of a balance. And I think, in our instance, it does not match the existing, which is basically now the sort of current condition because of the way Landmarks has treated those northern bays. But I think, in terms of working within the aperture of the existing storefronts, obviously there's no historic material being removed. Hopefully at the outset, I sort of made the point, and maybe this is a better point to make again here, is that this building is going to have at least 2 storefront infill types. It will not be uniform because of the way Landmarks has approved sort of retaining what is there today and putting in new infill to match that, as opposed to matching to the storefront master plan that they themselves approved. So there will be variation already. So we're just, we think this is sympathetic for the building, but also for this stretch of Madison and the district. And it's doing it in a sort of thoughtful, contemporary way. But correct, it is not monotonous. It does not strive for monotony.
We can't answer what you're saying. I'm sorry for interrupting you, but the point what I perceive is you're absolutely right. I agree with you. The only thing I disagree is the proposal. That is the only part. Thank you.
So, in terms of the other storefronts that are going to be within the bays, do any of them have the deep sign band or whatever was intended?
No, their signage is going to be, there's plaque signage that was approved under the master plan, which, dimensional plaque signage on the piers and awnings.
An awning. So what I'm seeing basically are possibly awnings in terms of the depth of the upper portion of those bays.
These bays show awnings, and we are not proposing awnings at our storefront.
Okay, just want to understand what we're looking at.
Of course.
Okay. Anthony?
I'm kind of wrestling in my mind with the monotony versus is it monotonous? Is it foolish consistency to want all of the Madison Avenue storefronts to be similar enough? Are you proposing a change that is a difference with no reason, except to be different? I could sort of get it being different if the differentness went all the way to the I'll call it an entrance to the marquee on Madison that's not quite in the middle of the building. That I could understand. And it sort of ending 2 bays short of that just feels kind of, to me, it feels kind of jarring. And I think all the pieces, the justification, all the logic for all the pieces make sense, Cass. But I feel somehow that when you add up all the parts, it's just variety for the sake of variety rather than with any deep I know it sounds mean. I guess I'm mean tonight. Without an appropriate appreciation for the original building and the kind of tradition of this kind of storefront. But I will withhold judgment until I hear from my fellow committee members. A very thorough presentation as usual, of course.
Thanks. I'll also just add that the bays to the north are under a separate lease, and our client Kate.
No, I understand. I understand
there was no choice there. I hear what you're saying. Understood.
Yeah, I understand all the practical reasons why you can't force a total stranger to do what you want to do.
If only, right?
Yeah, if only, yes.
The real problem is that the Landmarks Preservation Commission is not maintaining the master plan.
Michelle?
Thank you. Let me just clarify something. In the proposed, the door that you have at the corner, the Madison
Yeah.
Avenue, is there another corner door on 69th, or is that the only door?
No, the doors are at the corners. Let me show you. Just go to the plan to show you sort of. So there's a corner entry. So there are doors at each
Corner.
side.
That's what I thought I saw. Okay.
Yes. Yep.
And if you go back to proposed and existing, as you look across, on the north side of the canopy, those black, then are they transoms or awnings at this moment in time? They're awnings.
Awnings. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Now, you have no idea at this point what the tenants north of this proposed area are going to want.
We do actually.
Well, I'd be interested in hearing that because it would influence.
So it will. This is a page from their approved drawings from last year, and our understanding is they're going to start building this out, I think, in June. So basically from this bay forward. So they're basically matching, sorry, let me just go to this. They're basically matching this finish, this sort of heavy brass finish, unlike, and what was approved under the 2018 master plan was a slender, sorry, let me just get to this slender bronze detail. So this is actually this is basically what we're proposing, whereas the tenant to the north is proposing to basically maintain what is there.
Okay, our meeting master plan.
And how does it?
Sorry,
sorry, David, you're fading in and out. Can't hear you.
I just wanted clarification if they're meeting the master plan in terms of the awnings.
That is our understanding, that they're keeping the awnings and the light fixtures. Yes.
Okay, so go back to the proposed and existing, if you wouldn't mind. So the brass surrounds for the window are basically, you're keeping that as well, correct?
No, we're putting in a 2-inch bronze.
Oh, and the other one,
which matches the underlying master plan. Everything to the north is a 4-inch brass.
4-inch. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, and they have windows. Now, I have a recollection that there was a lot of lighting design for the next floor. I don't know if you want to call it the first floor or the second floor, but the floor above the ground. And also, are those awnings that we're looking at as well on the second floor?
Yeah, that's not part of this proposal.
I understand,
I'm not sure of this
but I'm
scope.
looking for uniformity.
Yeah, I think there was an approval for awnings for
That's
retail
my
use across
recollection.
the second floor.
That's my recollection.
Yeah, I don't know if those have been installed. Let me see if I can.
Okay, that's what I recall. I think that was done, and then there was some extensive lighting that was proposed and approved for that as well. My thought is this: I don't see any reason for breaking up the Madison Avenue facade. I don't see any particular benefit in the current proposal to eliminate the awnings, which changes your visual reading of the whole street front. And in light of the fact that the other tenant, there'll be only 2, and they'll keep all the awnings, and that's the majority of the number of windows on the Madison Avenue side, I would like to see the consistency all along, especially since I don't perceive any particular benefit to what they're proposing. So I see no reason to sort of shake it up. So that's my feeling about Madison. Now, on 69th Street, if you can pull that up. Okay, so on 69th Street, you have the existing, which are the three single pane, and you're
Right.
eliminating the awning, and your proposed is what are the panels? Oh, that's the corner door. And then
Right.
there's the middle single pane, and what's the door next to the canopy? What is that?
So there's an entry door here, so a sort of a fixed storefront window and an entry door here. This is more for sort of service employees. It's not sort of going to be treated as like a public entry. It doesn't have signage on it,
Okay.
but it'll be a clear glass door, similar in detail to the others.
So it's okay. So it's shown though as clear glass. Are you making any attempt to have some kind of uniformity between the proportion of the door at the corner, which is for customers? Well, this looks more proportioned here, actually. Well, not
sorry,
really.
this
I
is
don't know.
a detail elevation. Yeah, the bay widths are different, so that affects.
Yeah, but the doors
you
are the
know,
same.
I believe they're the same width. Yes.
And is
Yeah,
that
they're
part
the
of,
same width.
yeah, and that's what it looks, is that part of the proposal? What's the finish going to be? Like, it looks like the door that will be the customer opening is glass, and what will be the service entrance door?
All the infill is the same material. It's bronze, a statuary bronze, and clear glass.
Clear glass. So
In
even the
all 7
service
bays.
entrance, even
Yes.
the service entrance will be clear glass.
Yes.
Yeah. And there are no awnings at the current time on 69th Street?
I'm not sure. They may have come down. There were in 2018 when the master plan was approved, but I don't think there are awnings there currently.
Are there any windows on the west side of the entry on 69th Street?
No, they're just, I'll go back to the overall. They're just building entries
Yeah,
under
okay.
this.
There's
this
nothing
canopy.
after
Yeah.
that.
Right. I think it's also the elevations are obviously very helpful, but I do think looking at the rendering, because it's sort of how you see this building. Obviously, you don't see anything in flat elevation, but you've got mature trees, and you don't take the whole thing in all at once. So I think I'm happy to go back to the elevation, but I think it is helpful to look at this. And obviously, this angle is camera angle at about 8 feet, but just in terms of perspective, I think it's useful to see it in this perspective as well as the elevation. And I'm happy to go back.
No, that's fine. You've answered the questions very well. I appreciate that. My general feeling is I don't see the reason for what you're proposing, and then it would make such a vast visual difference in terms of the entryway, the canopy on Madison, and then you've got all the awnings on one side, but no awning south of it. I don't see the benefit of it, and I don't see the purpose of doing that. And I like the conformity, and I like how it relates to the second floor as well. So as presented, I don't think I'm happy with this, but thank you very much.
Yeah.
I'm fairly conflicted because I do like the idea of innovation, but I also agree with Michelle regarding consistency. And I think that that's where I have the most difficulty. If rather than having one large street building, the Westbury, you had two separate buildings and they were different facades, different window treatments, that would be fine. But when you have something that has always been such an elegant, wonderful part of Madison Avenue, I just think it's going to be a little jarring for me. So that's my major concern. Thank you.
Elizabeth?
Yes, I have the same problem as everybody else here. I think this building itself requires balance, uniformity, and I think this is very jarring, this corner, going around the corner, when the rest is the other side. And I don't think Madison Avenue was an expensive, elegant shopping street and very desirable to luxury tenants. So I don't think it's that you need this jarring thing to attract tenants here. And I'm afraid I cannot support this.
Abraham?
I share the same reservations everyone has echoed. I don't really see um, the compelling reason to deviate from the existing continuity.
Jane and David?
James Lewis. Well, we might have lost Jane. I don't want to be as cruel as Anthony, but this could be a marketing idea turned into a piece of architecture. And, you know, it's the larger show windows, it's more open, and in some sense, it's more elegant. So maybe that's all a plus from a marketing point of view, and possibly even with respect to the individual bays from an architectural point of view also, because I have no great love for the thick brass, and I don't think that the awnings are really necessary. Once upon a time, I used to do a lot of retail, and we used to set up these shopping centers with all kinds of signage requirements. And essentially, it was theme and variations. There were proportions, there were widths and thicknesses that all had to be met. But within each bay, there was variation, but yet it was theme and variations. Here, there's no real theme and variation. It's just they're different. And I'm having trouble with that. As a retailer, I would understand what you're doing, and I think it's elegant from the point of view of the building. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more theme and variation. I think that going back to the master plan for the materials is good. But I am conflicted about whether to approve this. So I'm getting a sense that there's more sympathy for maintaining the order that's already there than in changing it. And I don't know if we need a.
David, can you hear me, David?
Yes.
I keep going, I don't know, I lost you guys for a while, but I just wanted to concur with you that I'm not going to support the application.
Yeah, I think that's where it's heading. And Michelle has a hand up. I assume it's to make a resolution.
Move to disapprove as presented.
Can I get a second?
Can we go back to stop the screen share too?
Oh, of course.
I was looking at some very pretty stuff, Jane.
I know.
Irrespective of the resolution. Okay. So we got a second? Did we get a second?
I can second. I'll second.
Okay. So Kevin, please call the roll. This is a disapproval. So yes is a disapproval.
We'll unmute everyone. Okay, Elizabeth Ashby?
Yes,
Gail Barron,
Yes.
Michelle Birnbaum,
Yes,
Anthony Cohen,
Yes.
David Halpern,
Yes.
Jane Parshall,
Yes.
Marco Samayo,
Yes.
Abraham Salcedo,
Yes.
Jane?
Oh, yes. I don't know. I apologize again. I've just never had these kind of issues with my computer. In any case, does anybody have anything they want to bring up? New
Okay.
or old business?
Thank you.
No? Thank you. Thank
Okay.
you to all the applicants. I mean, the Westbury, it's such a beautiful hotel, or it used to be a hotel. I remember eating there when they had that wonderful restaurant on the ground floor years ago. I'm wondering if all of this doesn't have something to do with that club that's coming in. But if nobody has any
move to
new or
adjourn.
old business, well, thank you, Michelle. Is there a second? Okay, we'll see you in person a week from this Wednesday. And happy Valentine's Day to everyone.
Okay, happy Valentine's Day.